Once a year across Japan, tens of millions of people line up for a routine health check. At some point during that check, a nurse takes out a tape measure and wraps it around their waist. There is a strict number they are not supposed to cross. For women, that limit is exactly 90 centimeters. This is not a private clinic. This is not a passing fitness fad. It is the law. Since 2008, every adult in Japan between the ages of 40 and 74 has their waistline measured exactly like this. If they cross the line, they are sent to mandatory counseling to bring it back down. Stop and think about what that actually means. A government that legally measures your belly tells you something profound about how seriously an entire culture takes the middle of the body. The result of this law is hard to argue with. In Japan, only 4% of adults are obese. In the United States, that number sits at a staggering 40%. That is a tenfold difference. So the question this video answers is the one you are probably already asking yourself. What do they know about the center of the body that we do not? The answer is not a starvation diet or an endless treadmill routine. It is an ancient understanding of human biology tied to a simple 5-minute morning reset. It is a secret that modern science is only just beginning to catch up to, and you can start doing it tomorrow. I want to be honest with you about what we are actually measuring here. Notice that the Japanese government check measures your waist. It does not measure your weight. That choice is highly deliberate. The danger to your life and your energy has very little to do with the number you see on a bathroom scale. For centuries, traditional Japanese medicine has focused on a concept called the hara. The hara translates roughly to the belly or the abdomen, but it means much more than that. It is considered the physical and spiritual center of the human body, the place where your deep life force resides. Modern Western medicine used to ignore this. Now they put patients in MRI machines and realize the ancients were exactly right. Japan is not a nation obsessed with being thin. In fact, they have the opposite worry with a large number of young women who are actually underweight. Being skinny was never the goal. The real target has always been the waist and what is hiding behind it. This brings us to the true enemy, a specific type of fat called visceral fat. Think of the fat you can pinch with your fingers. That is subcutaneous fat. It sits just under the skin. It might frustrate you when you look in the mirror, but biologically, it is mostly harmless. It just sits there, like insulation. Visceral fat is completely different. You cannot pinch it. It lives deep inside your abdominal cavity, completely hidden behind a thick wall of muscle. But it does not just sit there. Visceral fat is an active, toxic organ. It wraps itself tightly around your liver. It weaves through your intestines. It surrounds your pancreas. Once it settles in there, it begins pumping inflammatory chemicals directly into your bloodstream. It poisons your metabolism from the inside out. It makes you tired. It makes you sick. It makes your body resist burning calories. The health of your center determines the health of your entire system. The ancient Japanese understood this through the hara. We understand it now through biology. But the most important piece of this puzzle is why this toxic fat seems to suddenly switch on after the age of 40. For most of your life, your body has a quiet manager directing traffic. That manager is the hormone estrogen. For decades, estrogen acts as a strict traffic cop. Every time you eat and store fat, estrogen points its finger and tells that fat exactly where to go. It usually directs it away from your center and sends it down to your hips and your thighs. It does this to protect your vital organs. It is a brilliant survival mechanism. But around perimenopause, everything changes. This usually happens a few years before periods stop altogether. The traffic cop begins to leave her post. Estrogen levels begin to fall. When that happens, the default instructions change. Fat that once went safely to your hips suddenly has no clear direction. It starts collecting deep inside your abdominal cavity instead. It moves right into the hara. The medical research on this is remarkably consistent. Before menopause, this deep belly fat makes up roughly 5 to 8% of a woman's total body fat. After menopause, that number climbs drastically. It jumps toward 15 to 20%. The fat did not just appear out of nowhere. It simply moved. This is why so many women feel quietly betrayed by their own bodies. You are eating the exact same way. You are moving the exact same way, but somehow your body is rapidly changing shape. I need you to hear this clearly. This is biology. It is not a failure of discipline. In the West, we often view menopause as a medical failure or a disease to be fought. Traditional Japanese culture views it entirely differently. They see it as a natural transition of energy. When the youth hormones fade, the energy in the hara can become stagnant. The physical center of the body loses its natural rhythm. But the Japanese understood that you do not need to fight this shift with exhaustion or starvation. Instead, they relied on a specific daily physical interaction to keep the body's center alive and functioning. A 5-minute secret designed to protect the hara when the hormones stop doing the work for you. You might wonder if this is just Japanese genetics. It is a fair question, but the answer is definitively no. When Japanese women leave their home country and settle in the West, something striking happens. As they adopt a Western environment, their waistlines rapidly begin to widen. The metabolic protection they had in Japan fades away. Within a short period, they face the exact same struggles with hormonal belly fat as anyone else. This proves a crucial point about human biology. It introduces a concept called epigenetics. Think of your DNA as a massive library of blueprints. Your genes are simply the books sitting on the shelves. But your daily environment is the librarian. Your environment decides which books actually get pulled down and read. The Japanese are not born with a genetic shield against visceral fat. They live it. Whatever is protecting their waistlines is something they do every single day, which means in principle you can borrow it. Here is the heart of what they are actually doing. It is the part nobody puts on a fitness magazine cover. They do not rely on perfect genetics or extreme willpower. Instead, traditional Japanese culture utilizes a very specific, quiet, daily default. It is a 5-minute physical interaction with the nervous system. This brief ritual alters gene expression and blocks the biological triggers of visceral fat. They do it naturally, almost by accident. Let me walk you through exactly how this ancient practice works and how you can use it. The first piece of this 5-minute reset replaces the need for endless morning cardio. It centers around a traditional Japanese stretching practice called Senobi. Senobi is beautifully simple. It is the act of reaching upward, extending the arms and expanding the rib cage while breathing deeply. We often do it instinctively when we wake up, but we rarely hold it or focus on it. Western fitness tells you that to burn fat you must run on a treadmill until you are completely exhausted. Modern science tells a very different story. When you reach upward and physically expand your rib cage for just 1 minute, you activate a very specific and powerful type of tissue. It is called brown adipose tissue, or simply brown fat. Think of regular white fat as a cheap storage locker for excess energy. Visceral fat is the toxic locker hidden deep inside. Brown fat is completely different. It is not a storage locker at all. It is a biological furnace. This brown fat is densely packed around your upper spine, your collarbones, and your neck. When you activate it through the deep physical expansion of Senobi, it turns on. In order to generate heat, this brown fat reaches out and pulls fuel directly from your white visceral fat stores. It quite literally burns the bad fat to keep you warm. You trigger a profound metabolic fire from the inside. You flip the survival switch without the pain and exhaustion of a gym session. The second piece of this ritual replaces the daily struggle of cutting out every single drop of sugar. It involves an ancient technique called Tanden breathing. The Tanden is located exactly 2 inches below your navel. It is the absolute core of the hara. Here is the biological secret behind why this matters so much. As we age and experience the constant pressure of modern life, our bodies activate something called the HPA axis. This is a complex biological alarm system connecting your brain to your adrenal glands. When this alarm rings constantly, your body floods with a stress hormone called cortisol. High cortisol signals a survival emergency. It tells your brain that you are starving or in danger. To save your life, your brain forces your liver to instantly dump stored glucose directly into your bloodstream. This means you can experience a massive internal sugar spike even if you have not eaten a single piece of food. It is exactly as if you drank a sugary soda while you were fasting. This silent internal sugar spike is what builds the post-40 belly. Tanden breathing stops this invisible spike. When you focus your breath deep into the lower abdomen, it instantly stimulates the vagus nerve. The vagus nerve is your nervous system's biological brake pedal. It lowers cortisol immediately. It tells the liver the emergency is over and to stop dumping sugar. You halt the internal sugar spike in its tracks before it can turn into visceral fat. The third piece replaces the rigid, obsessive counting of fiber and fermented foods. It utilizes the hidden internal anatomy of your breath. Your diaphragm is a large, parachute-shaped muscle sitting just below your lungs. Most of us take shallow, stressed breaths high up into our chest. When we do this, the diaphragm barely moves. During deep Tanden breathing, the diaphragm is forced to plunge downward. When it drops, it physically presses down into your stomach, your liver, and your intestines. This acts as a deep internal mechanical massage for your organs. Think of a stagnant pond versus a flowing river. A stagnant pond grows toxic and sick. A flowing river stays clean and vibrant. This physical downward pressure from the diaphragm improves gut motility. It physically pushes matter through the digestive system. But more importantly, it forces fresh, oxygenated blood directly into the deep tissue of the gut microbiome. When the trillions of bacteria in your gut receive this mechanical massage and this fresh blood flow, they calm down. They reduce systemic inflammation. They balance your metabolism in the exact same way a strict high-fiber diet does. But you achieve this healing simply by breathing correctly. The final piece replaces the rigid rules of eating your vegetables before your rice. It revolves around a master control switch called the autonomic nervous system. Your body operates in one of two states. The sympathetic state is fight or flight. It is highly stressed and tense. The parasympathetic state is rest and digest. It is calm and repairing. If you eat a meal while you are in a sympathetic stressed state, your body panics. It views the food as rare survival energy. It releases a massive surge of insulin and locks those calories straight into deep, visceral fat storage. Doing this brief routine of Senobi and Tanden breathing completely shifts your nervous system. It forces you out of fight or flight. It locks you into the rest and digest state. By flattening this invisible stress curve, you fundamentally change how your body processes food for the rest of the day. When you finally sit down to eat your carbohydrates, your body reacts gently. It releases far less insulin. Because you lowered the insulin spike, your body spends far less of its day in fat storage mode. You achieve the exact same blood sugar flattening effect as the traditional Japanese habit of eating vegetables before rice. But you do it before you even touch a plate. Take a step back and look at the whole picture. The belly that arrives after the age of 40 is very real. It is driven by real biological forces. Falling hormones change your default instructions and push deep fat into your center. For years, you have blamed yourself. You thought you lacked discipline. You thought you were failing. I want you to let that go. The willpower we keep blaming ourselves for was never really the missing piece. Your internal biological environment was. What protects Japanese women has very little to do with starving themselves or running for hours. It comes from a day arranged so that the healthier biological choice happens almost by accident. If you want to bring this ancient protection into your own life, you can begin gently. You can begin tomorrow morning. When you wake up, stand tall and reach upward. Expand your rib cage with Senobi to ignite your metabolic furnace. Then pull your breath deep into your center. Use Tanden breathing to quiet the stress alarm and massage your vital organs. Give this just 5 minutes before you rush into your day. None of this is a diet. It is simply a small morning reset that quietly brings your body back into balance. If this helped you understand your body in a clearer and gentler way, I would love for you to stay with me here. I share these quiet lessons where modern science meets Japanese tradition every single week. Subscribing is the easiest way to let the next one reach you. Take good care of your center, and I will see you in the next one.